and welcome to math class. So, teacher, I said I'm going live. We're doing math, and I need you to sit here with your calculator ready because my math skills suck. Hey, how you doing? Let me just, So by the way, can you guys tidy the spaces here? We've been trying to clean up and have a fresh whiteboard, and I'll just start to, and we've got this is like the essential in the office. I can't clean this one up, but she doesn't even get a chair anymore. She's been demoted to a cushion.
Get zen.
We have to get all zen out. So what's going on, everyone? I want to say, how was your weekend? Oh my gosh, this is like aggressive right now. Welcome to math class. And just so you know, it's Toronto versus everybody. I know that's backwards for you guys. But what up, Felicia? Calculators out. I hosted a all-day virtual workshop on the weekend. Logged on at what, like 9:45?
Yeah.
And finished at what, 6? Like all day online, and I pretty much had to go find like Ricola after because my voice was sore. But I'm doing this video for you guys for 2 reasons. One, because I recorded the whole day on Saturday and and I lost the crunching numbers part, which is like the most important part of it all. And 2, because this is something I need you guys all to really, really see. You have to crunch the numbers in your business. So I was just looking at one of my private clients, Katie, sent me the most amazing spreadsheet ever, by the way. And over and over and over again, what these things prove is that it's a tiny, tiny percentage, and I say this over and over again. But to give you an example, we're going to crunch the numbers. So I want you guys to grab your calculator, and we're going to go through this. It's going to be a workshop. We might be a little bit longer than usual, but I want you guys to go through the math over and over again so that you understand how you're going to start making your business. But what this is proving to you, back to my point, is that it's a tiny percentage of people that have to buy into what it is you're doing that can build you a mega business. So for example, let me show you here. And I had this, what?
Do we have to do it?
Yeah, we got to do that. So I had this fancy like screen sharing software, and then that whole thing started crashing on me. So we're going to just do this ghetto styles, and we're going to actually, my screen here. Let me know when you see it. Okay, so I'm trying to blow up the screen. That should be good. You guys get to see my desktop here. Is that good? Can someone give me an okay? We can see it. Give me some thumbs up or something. Nay, yay. Oh, my mouse is not working. Of course. Technical difficulties. Yes, thumbs up.
Maybe this one.
That was not working either. All right, well, that's not going to be able to happen right now. So, here we go. Okay, cool. Okay, you can see my screen, thumbs up. Okay, awesome. So, first of all, I would like you guys to see that I have started drawing. That's important. Oh, we've got the squirrely ball. Isn't this awesome? What the heck is happening here? Okay, anyway, not to kill time, do you see this crunching numbers worksheet? And for those of you who don't have this, I'm walking you through this with a webinar example because that's the example that I walked through with everyone on the weekend. So I want you guys to do this. I want you to get your offer price, right? So what is it that you're selling? And if you don't have your offer price quite figured out yet, just make something up for the purposes of knowing how to do the math in your business. So once this squirrely ball kind of deals with itself, which you guys know how that all happens. Okay, I'm going to restart my computer and talk you guys through this before this happens. Let me restart my computer. Thank you, Mr. Mac, for being an asshole. Was that not the right thing to say? Where is my restart button? Sorry, guys. Okay.
Does anyone have questions about their numbers in the meantime that you can answer?
Okay. Let me come back. Okay. So the point of this is that I'm just going to walk you guys through it, and my computer will hopefully behave itself and figure itself out. I was going to show you guys my drawings, too. One sec. Okay, so the whole reason why I want to do this was because we did this on the weekend, and I know that there's so many of you who are not crunching numbers and doing things properly. So for example, my client Katie sent me a spreadsheet of what happened in her first launch. Epic. Like, here are the emails that I sent. Here are the emails that opened. Like, she had the subject lines that opened really well. She had like the click-through rates, the open rates. She had all these different things. And I was like, holy cow, this is amazing. So on her email list, it showed that she had 600 and something people, and she booked 8 calls, right? So the reason I want to show you this, and I feel like my computer is cooperating. That was a really quick recovery. Let me show you this now. So the reason I want to show you guys this is because, check this out. So she had, and I've blown it up so you can see it, she had 610 people on her email list, and I will show you guys my drawing because that's like way too good. So she had 610 people on her email list, and out of those 610 people that we got on her email list, the list is only 4 to 8 weeks old, she only had 8 people book calls. Okay, I really want you guys, get your calculators out if you don't have them yet. So if 8 people out of 610 took her up on booking a call, that is 8 divided by 610, that's 0.013 of her email list took action. Because her program, she's charging $300 a month for 3 months, so it's $900. She had 5 sales. Right? So 0.013 of her list took action, 5 sales at $900. That's gross of $4,500, right? So the point is, I just want to show you guys this. Like, look how awesome this is. This is when you start treating your business like a real business. This is when you stop, you know, saying it's not working, like all these things are happening. When she put this, like, I didn't ask her to do this. I'm so impressed that she did this. She put her rates, everything on a spreadsheet and sent it to me. And I'm looking at this saying, like, everybody needs to see this. Everybody needs to see that it's a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage, and I keep saying this and I keep saying this. So many of you are launching and you're like, it's not working, no one's buying, no one's taking action. 0.013 of her email list took action and made her profitable, right? So 610 people, although we think like, so you guys have lists of like 200 and 300, if it's that tiny of a percentage that takes action and nobody's buying at that numbers, when we crunch the numbers, we can see, yeah, it kind of makes sense. So I want you guys to just really get into this mindset of, I need to understand my numbers. It's a complete numbers game. So I want you guys to get your calculators out. Let's crunch numbers for a webinar example. And then I want you guys to see how to do it, and I want to encourage you guys to do these numbers in your own mind, because when you start knowing your numbers, this is where you're going to build confidence in what it is that you're doing. Any questions coming up?
Not yet.
How's everyone doing, by the way?
We've got Marcella
in the house.
Felicia.
Lana,
Lindsay.
What up, Lana? All right, let's crunch some numbers. I got my calculator. We're gonna do this thing. Let me do this. Everything that could possibly go wrong today is going wrong, and I love it. But in the meantime, John Goodman, you need to see something. Guys, I've been drawing. I got myself a Surface, like a Surface Pro, because I wanted to start drawing my funnels on screens, and I've been sharing you guys my epic fails with all my technology. So then I got myself a Surface Pro, and this is what I've been able to create so far. Ice cream, pooping ice cream. So boss, you love it. Okay, cool. John Goodman approves. Hey Joseph, what up? All right, get your calculators out. Let's crunch some numbers. This is for a webinar statistic, and I'll give you guys all this stuff. But if you don't know your numbers in your business, you don't know what the heck is going on, you gotta figure this out. So I want you guys to write this all down, pen and paper, take a picture of it, and send it to me if you don't have it yet. Every single one of my clients, this is mandatory work. John Goodman, mandatory work. I'm just kidding. Allison's here and super happy you're drawing. Yes. Okay. So number one, I want you guys to plug in your offer price, okay? My spreadsheet is not like everyone else's spreadsheet where it's automatically populated and my cells are forming and here we go, and no. This is like calculator, like so. You're gonna make it happen. Plug in your offer price. This is how much you are, obviously, this is the gross offer. So if you're paying on a payment plan, I've got that question a lot. I'm gonna walk you through an example here for a webinar. If you guys aren't doing a webinar, you'll be able to plug it in for yourself. Is that better? Okay, plug in your offer price here. So let's say that you are selling a program worth $499 and follow along and do the math. $499, yeah? That's how much that's how much you're charging for your program. So let's say you are doing this on your webinar, which will be a little bit different. We can roll through this whole example. I just want you guys to understand how you're going to be profitable. So let's say you're paying Mr. Mark Zuckerberg for his awesome job on collecting these billions of people that have Facebook accounts. So he's doing this amazing job and he's charging us per webinar registration. Webinar registration, guys, girls, are a lot more expensive than like a lead magnet registration. So let's say that he is absolutely killing it right now and he's charging us $5 per webinar lead. Send SJ a pic of your numbers. Thank you so much, Alyssa, by the way. Okay, so let's say Mark is charging us $5 per webinar registration. Okay, we need to know our numbers so that we can have the balls to start spending, to start making money. So this is where you want to kind of figure out, how much do I want to spend on Facebook ads for my webinar, for my launch? What's my budget for this campaign? There are certain numbers here that if you've never done this before, that you're going to say, I don't know my show percentage. I don't know how many people on my list take action. I don't know how much Mr. Mark is going to charge me for a Facebook lead. But when you're just starting out, you have to use you have to guesstimate. You have to use numbers and as a starting point, and then you start collecting data, right? Like Katie is doing here. I'm so impressed with Katie that she's collecting data about what's happening in her business. Love, love, love it. So let's go back to crunching numbers. So let's say that for this particular webinar, you want to spend $1,000, okay? If you want to spend $1,000 and your leads are costing you $5 per lead, how many leads are you getting? And please, I want to stop you all right here. Don't just watch me do this. Don't just watch me with my random scream yelling into the phone because the phone's right next to me while you're watching my screen. Who's in my worksheet? Who's in my worksheet? There's someone who just popped in my worksheet. I want you guys to do the numbers for yourself, okay? So let's say that you spend $1,000, you spend $5 per lead. That's going to give you 200 people that are going to register for your webinar. We're talking about a webinar funnel. We can do it again for a non-webinar funnel. All right, so now we have to guesstimate the show percentage, right? We have to guess how many people are going to show, because until you've done a whole bunch of webinars and you have your data and your numbers and your average show, you're going to have to use industry standards. So what the average show percentage is, you want to get about 30%. If your show percentage is dropping under 20% for a webinar, not good, not what you want to see happen. If it's anywhere between 25 to 30, that's good. Keep rolling, make it happen. If it's above 30%, you're a freaking rock star, and I'm asking you to please let me know what the heck you're doing, because that's awesome. So let's say that you're landing at 30% show. What this means here is 30% of the people that register for your webinar are going to actually show up live. The rest of them are going to say, just kidding, not coming, just registered to get your replay, just registered to creep you, just registered for whatever the heck they wanted to do. So what this means is 60 people registered, 60 people actually showed up to your webinar. All right, so we're launching a webinar. We want to see how profitable this thing is going to be. We have to crunch our numbers so that we can see what the heck is going to happen here. We are going to spend $1,000 on advertising this webinar. We're going to generate leads off Facebook ads. Mr. Mark Zuckerberg is going to charge us $5 per perfect webinar registration. That means we're going to have 200 people enter their name and email and says, yes, I'm coming. 70% are going to stiff you. They're not going to show up. They're not coming. 30% are coming. They're showing up live when it's go time. 60 people are actually showing up to your webinar. So now we have to say, what is the percent sold? I like to include my my live webinar sales plus my replay webinar sales. So I send everyone through a push to buy email sequence. Out of that, we need to know what's the average percent sold. Now, until you have your data and until you start doing this, you won't know, right? So for me, my percent sold when it's cold traffic, people who don't know me, who don't like me, who don't trust me, my average percent sold is between 5 and 8%. If it's warm traffic, it's people that know me, it's people that love me, it's people that have been on my list, they've been nurtured, they understand me, they get me, they're hanging around, they're consuming my content. I can get anywhere between, 10 to 18, I've even had upwards of 20% sell on a, over $1,000 product. When the price point is lower, that increases. So I've had 20, 30, 40% sold to warm/hot traffic on a webinar. So I want to be conservative with your numbers here so that you can start crunching numbers. The reason we are doing this is so that you understand that it costs money to make money, and unless you crunch your numbers, your funnel is not going to work. Did I drive that point home a few times?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm all about spending money to make money. So we have to guesstimate until you have your data on your numbers sold. So let's say for now we want to be conservative and say that you're going to close 5% of people that show up to your webinar. That show up and that register, right? So maybe you'll get 2% live that buy on your webinar, and maybe you'll, capture another 3% of registrants in your post-webinar replay/follow-up sequence. What that means then, if 5% of your 200 end up buying, that's 10 sales, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're doing
sales. 10 people bought.
Percent sold based on how many people registered.
Yeah, based on number 2. Okay? You guys should all have your calculators out and be doing this math. So if 5% of my registrants sold, some of them bought live on the webinar, some of them are purchasing in the post follow-up sequence, that's 10 sales here. Okay? If 10 people bought at $4.99, the gross on that is tick-tock, 4990. 4990, right? So now if I spent $1,000 on Facebook ads, my profit on this webinar is $3,990. Okay? Do you guys get that? This is what you have to do when you are considering hosting a webinar. This is what you have to do when you're considering investing money into Facebook ads for your funnel. You, of course, don't know your show percentage. You, of course, don't know your percentage sold. What's funny?
Joe says he has 17 lists and he already has one sale at $2.99. He's not trying to boast, but he kind of is.
What's that?
Joe only has 17 people on his email list,
so your numbers are like, your percentages are like skyrocketing. There's my my virtual manual calculator, by the way, guys, because I always make mistakes with my...
I'm just checking, but it seems like...
She's fact-checking my numbers.
You're killing it today.
My number, yeah, because I have a cheat sheet that nobody can see. Okay, so you guys get that. You have to crunch your numbers. So you don't know, if you're doing webinars and you have a webinar funnel going down, you don't know your show percentage. And what I was telling everyone on Saturday who joined me for webinar in a day is that when you start doing these webinars frequently, not just one time, not 2 times, I do them every single week, you know your numbers. I know my show percentage is off between like a couple percentages. Then I know my closing percentage is off. It's the same, always a couple percentages. Facebook ads start to fluctuate. So then what ends up happening is you start having your benchmark numbers. I know when I'm profitable, then I know I cannot afford to go over this number per lead, cost per lead on Facebook ads, because then my equation doesn't work anymore. Or I can't afford to have my show percentage drop below 25% because then these numbers don't work anymore. I need you guys to plug everything into your spreadsheet or to your your crunching numbers worksheet. You do it pen and paper. You want to go through your launch and go, whether it's a webinar launch or whether you're selling a product, in different scenarios to see what will happen. The reason why, here's the kicker, and why don't I see any of the comments or questions happening here?
There's only one comment. It's from Lana, and she says, okay, don't kick my butt, but I don't get why webinars are so cool.
So cool. Okay, that's, you know, we've covered that before. I'll answer that later. I just want to make sure we keep on topic because otherwise this is going to become a promotion for webinars. I want to talk about the numbers real quick here. The reason why this is so important is because a lot of you are saying online marketing doesn't work, or my funnel sucks, or my people are not buying, or things aren't working, and da 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 da. And then I'm crunching your numbers and I'm saying, of course it's not working. Of course it's not profitable. So this is why I keep telling you guys, if you don't have a large email list and I crunch your numbers and you want to sell a $197 product and it's a tiny percent of people that end up buying, right? So let's go back to Katie's example. You guys have your calculators out. Give me thumbs up if you have your calculators out. Let's go through this together. Yes? Yes, 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 my people. Calculators out. So let's go through an example, right? Thank you. So let's say for example, previously we walked through Katie's example. 0.013 of her list bought. She has 600, and let's say she has 610 people on her email list. She has a $900 product, in which case she is profitable. She made over $3,000. If Katie had a product that was $197, $200, she would be in the hole right now based on being out of pocket for Facebook ads. So when you guys are deciding on the price point of your offers based on the size of your email list and where you're at in your business, sometimes you can't afford to have certain price points if you don't have the audience just yet. So she has 610 people on her business. Sorry, on her email list, only 8 calls booked. Because her product is $900, it starts to make sense. Is there anyone here that wants to go through the numbers with me live? Is there anyone who's watching right now? Liz, Felicia, is there anyone who wants to crunch these numbers live?
Takes a second. They're not caught up yet.
TikTok.
I'll comment.
I don't see any comments, by the way.
I know, it's weird. It doesn't make any sense because it's front facing. It should be
so annoying. Nancy, let's do it. You want to do a webinar funnel, or you want to do a regular funnel? Like, that makes any sense. Like, you want to do a webinar funnel, or like with a webinar, or just launch to your email list? Mine's a weird situation. Let's pause on the weird situation then, and let's get to you. We will get to the weird situation. I know your weird situation because you have a company and whatnot. Nancy, let's figure out your numbers. I'm going to treat your business like it's my own, and I'm going to tell you what I would spend and what I would expect and what I would look for if I had your product in your business. So hit me up, Nancy. Are we doing webinars or not? Or regular?
Let's do webinars, and I know her price point is $997.
Okay, hit me up with a pen and paper.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to do a price point of $997. We're going to do a walkthrough for Nancy. We're going to crunch her numbers, and I want you guys all to crunch your numbers so that we can see how this whole dance works. This is the single most important. I asked her for a pen, and okay, so we're going to say $997 is your price point. This is the single most important thing you guys can do in your businesses. So if I didn't do this every single day, I wouldn't know how much I can spend on Facebook ads, and I wouldn't be profitable. So Nancy has a program. It's priced at $997. Because she is brand spanking new to webinars and she hasn't been banging them out every single week, we have to use some benchmark data until she can get her own. So Nancy has a price point of $997. I've said that 997 times, no problem. How much, Nancy, do you want to spend on Facebook advertising to fill up your first webinar? What is your budget? I can do a little dance because there's a delay in the video. And when everyone watches backwards, they're going to be like, what is going on?
What do you...
Okay, I'm just going to throw benchmark numbers at you.
She said 500.
500, okay. So we're going to spend $500 on Facebook ads to fill up this webinar. Her price point is $997. We don't exactly know what's going to happen when we start driving traffic to Nancy's opt-in page, because we don't know if we're going to get leads for $3. We don't know if we're going to get leads for $5. We don't know if we're going to get leads for $10. So we have to guess something. So I like to be conservative, and I like to do these numbers a few times. So let's say Nancy starts driving traffic to fill up her webinar. She wants to spend $500. Let's say she gets webinar leads for $6 per lead. She drives traffic and it's $6 per lead to fill up her webinar. So that means 500 divided by 6. That means Nancy is going to have 83.3 people register for her webinar. 83.3 people are going to register for her webinar. She spent $500. Her program is $997. 83.3 people are going to register for her webinar. Let's say she sends out the most incredible reminder email sequence and getting people excited and, hey everyone, you know, show up and all that stuff that I tell you guys to do to create anticipation and hype. And let's say she gets 30% to actually show up live. The rest of them are going to say, forgot all about you, Nancy. Really didn't, just kidding, right? 30% are going to show up live. So if we have, thank you so much. See, my calculator came in handy. 24.9 people are live, okay? So if we have 24.9 people live out of 83.3, that's 30%. Let's say that Nancy is able to close 5% of everyone who registers, right? Because she's going to send out the most incredible replay sequence. 5% of everyone who registers. That's 4.15 sales. 4.15 sales at a price point of $997 is, this is so good, this little calculator. I wish you all have a calculator like I do right now, is $3,988. So Nancy had gross sales of $3,988. Minus, I can do that math on my own, but thank you. She spent $500 on Facebook ads. So Mr. Marky Mark is going to pocket $500. Thank you, Nancy. Hope you had a great webinar. She got her dream clients on her webinar. 83.3 registered. 70% said, forget you, Nancy. I'm doing better things today. 30% showed up, which is 24.9 people showed up to the webinar. We're using realistic numbers. We're using benchmark numbers so that we're conservative. Because if you haven't done this math, Nancy, for yourself, and if you're all not busting out a calculator right now, you'll never have the confidence to spend in your business because you don't know what's going to come out on the other side. So 5% of people that registered purchased. That's $3,988 minus the $500 that she spent. Nancy is profiting $3,488. Not bad. Not bad. Now let's just say that Nancy had a price point of $197, like so many of you do. And that's why I keep telling you guys, until you have a large email list, careful with that. So let's say Nancy had a price point of $197. If we did all the same math, right, the same show percentage, the same registration, it's not cheaper to get leads on Facebook because you're charging people less. It's the same $5, $6 that you're going to spend to acquire the lead. So the same $500 cost, what would the gross be? 4.15 times one, what did I say?
197 is.
So now she's making $788, right? So now she's only profiting $288 with creating a webinar, with writing emails, to running Facebook ads. Like, you make $288, you're pissed. You're pissed. You're not good. So this is where your price point is important. This is where all those metrics are important. This is where you have to understand your numbers. You have to understand what your show percentage is. So doing things one time, two times isn't good enough. I have hundreds of webinars to collect data. I have hundreds of emails that collect data. So just like I was showing you guys earlier how my client Katie started collecting data, taking a look at her open rates, taking a look at her click-through rates, you have to start collecting data, right? So the other thing is, if you're not doing webinars, guys, it's a percentage of people that actually take action and buy. In Katie's example, because her price point was $900 and only 0.13% of her list took action, she still made $3,000 in profits with a list that is only 610 people. So it's a tiny, tiny percentage. So I want you guys to crunch the numbers. You have to understand that if you're, like, let's say you have a list size of a couple hundred people and it's 0 point something percent that actually end up buying now, and your program is only a couple $100, if you're not profitable, if you're not making money, if I crunch the numbers, it makes sense. Cool? So if you need any support crunching your numbers, let me know. I got my calculator out and we can crunch together, but I want you guys to see this. I want you guys to do this in your business. Okay, so Nancy, how many people should I have on my email? What does that mean? What do you mean? Lost for your regular sales that I am doing before LL. What does that mean? What is LL? Nancy, help me out, man. Woohoo, I never usually catch you live. Hi, Jenny.
Oh, I think what she means is...
What does that mean?
I think what she means is she's lost for the regulars, doing her numbers for not a webinar.
Is that what she means? Before LL?
I think
live
LOL.
launch.
Live launch.
Like, oh, you've got like marketing lingo that we don't yet have.
Yeah.
So I like that. LL. You do LL.
We'll use LL now.
Okay. So what's the question now?
So let's do Nancy's numbers for just a launch with emails and no webinar.
What's the price point?
$997.
$997. So let's say, okay, this is straight off of your email. Are you booking on sales calls, or are you sending people right to a buy now form? Like, what's your method?
I believe she's booking on sales calls.
Wait for it. I think, okay, sales calls, let's assume. So if you're selling on sales calls and you want to start figuring out your numbers so that you can see what's going to happen here, you're building a business, guys. You're going to have to get out of the gates, right? So at the very beginning, it's brutal. It's tough because you're trying to make money off of those people that you've just spent, spent the money on to get them on your list. But after a while, you have a larger list. It's a lot easier, just to be. There's no other way to say that. So it's a struggle at the beginning. So let's say Nancy is going to launch to her list. She's going to live launch to her list. She's going to spend $500, and how much is she spending on a Facebook lead? So it's a lot cheaper to get someone to an opt-in, which is what we're doing, versus a webinar. So let's say you spend $300 on your LL launch. Sales page booking calls, they can book or buy. Okay, cool. So let's just, to keep it simple, let's say that they're booking calls. So you're going to spend the same $500. You're going to spend $3 per lead. Now you have 166 people on your email list. Okay? Let's say that 3% of your email list, you're going to send them through a launch and you're going to tell people to book a call. I'm taking on clients and I'm doing this for this week and I'm so excited and I'm opening enrollment and now's your chance and complete my application and here's what's going on with my clients and all the stuff I teach you guys. And let's say 5% of those people, this is not 5% of everybody, this is 5% of people that have just opted into your lead magnet. Let's say 5%. 5% or 3%? I've said 5% like 10 times, and I was just going to make a joke about how I keep saying 5%, and then she asked me, 5% or 3%? 5%. Spending $600 plus on ads. We're just going to pretend it's we're just going to pretend that she said $500. Okay, so if 5% of your email list, Nancy, takes action, that's 166 people in total that you're on your list. You spent $500. That is 8.3 people book calls. Let's say that you're closing 50% of the calls that you book, right? So now you have 4 people, just to round it up, 4.1 persons, 4.1 persons are going to actually buy. So 4.1 times 997, I'm just going to do 4. So $3,988. Oh, the exact same as your webinar. So $3,988. So minus the $500 that you spent, $3,488. So that's how we did the math now for your non-webinar funnel, right? So again, if Nancy had a product of $197 and she had a brand spanking new list of 188 people, there's no magic trick I can pull out to make her profitable. There's nothing I can do to say, in that case, if you're stuck on having a lower price point, it's not that it's not going to work. It's that it's going to take longer time until you have a larger list. Because what happens now is, let's say Nancy does this launch all the time. That 166, she does it again, invests the same $500, spends the same $3 on leads. That 166 is going to turn into 300 people, and the same 5% that actually books calls on 300 people is going to turn into 16 people. At the same 50% that actually buys turns into 8 sales. So this is where things start to compound. I like that I pretend that I'm in math class and I talk about compounding interest, but I've seen this, guys, firsthand what happens here. So now on the second launch, she's making $8,275, right? So who's got questions on this? You guys have to understand this. If you're not out of the gates yet, if your email list is tiny and you're crunching numbers because it's a tiny percentage off of a tiny email list, you have to see that this is welcome to business. You have to start. When you grow a big email list, and let's say you've got 5,000 people on your email list, and it's the same tiny percentage, the 5% that books calls, can you see here that 5,000 people, that now you would have 250 calls booked? And that's not what you would want. At this point, we would scale your business and change your model, right? But when you have to get out of the gate. So I know so many of you are struggling right now because you don't have a large active list, because it's a new list. They're not people who know, like, and trust you. They're people who've just got some sort of PDF. They're still cold. They're not warm. They're not really action takers. That's like the infancy stages of your business. Right? When you add to your list, when you keep launching, when you send people through these launches, they start seeing that you're actually in the business of making money. You're not just a, content provider. You're actually making offers, and then you continuously crunch your numbers. You can start seeing how things become mega profitable when you have the right numbers plugged in. You got to dial in the right numbers. Cool?
I think we should also say that we wouldn't, like Nancy's saying, if I want to sell 10 people, how many people do I need on my list? But she should start small, get her real numbers, and then spend like $1,000.
Okay, so if in a perfect world, we all had a crystal ball and we said, I want to make 10 sales. Like, what's the math here? And then crystal ball would say, okay, you're going to spend $5 on a Facebook ad. You got to get X amount of people on your email list, because X amount of people on your email list are going to take action to book you this many calls. You're going to close this many calls. There's so many numbers that we have to plug in that are hypothetical numbers. So unless we start getting some data for how good are you on closing on calls? Are you able to close 50% of your sales calls? Or are you gangbusters like some of my clients who can close 80% of sales calls? Or do your sales calls not even show up? There are all these variables. So until we have that data, it's going to be really difficult to say. So we're guesstimating. So Nancy, if we want to guesstimate, is that a real word?
I think so.
Huh. If we want to guess, so let's say the goal is to make 10 sales, and you're LLing, you're live launching. So there's no webinar happening. You want to make 10 sales. So let's just guess that you're going to spend $4 per lead. Okay? Let's guess that 3% of your list is going to take action. So here I'm giving you the numbers so that we can do the math backwards, and the big problem that's starting to arise in my head, that this is the math that I always struggle to do. So I'm hoping that Alyssa's going to help me out here. So let's give you some numbers so that we can guess what's happening here. So we're going to guess that we're spending $3 a lead.
Start with how many
we
sales
want. We want 10 sales.
Okay, so
goal.
she wants
10 sale. We want to make 997. No. Lies. Our program is worth $997. We want to make 10 sales. We want to make 9,997 bones. Okay?
And she closes 50% of her sales.
She's closing 50% of her sales calls. So now the data that we don't have is how much of your list is going to take action. So we're going to guess that 3% of your list is going to take action. We don't know how much you're going to spend on Facebook ads. We don't know if you're the Facebook ad ninja or if it's going to be a little bit more challenging, right? So we're going to guess that you're spending $3 on Facebook ads. So now we have these numbers. The number that we're looking for is how many leads do we need on our email list?
So she needs 666 people on her email list to book 20 calls to close
Okay, why don't you explain to everybody how you did that fabulous math? Oh my gosh. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm over here. Okay, so Nancy wants to close.
And by the way, for those of you who are tuning in late, we're cleaning out the office, so we gave her a cushion today.
I don't always
This
sit
is not
like this.
This is not my usual work
It's not
environment.
like a torturous.
Okay, everybody's okay here. We're all taken care of. We're all eating.
Send help. All I have is a cushion. Okay, so Nancy wants to sell 10 people, and I know that she closes 50% of her sales calls. I don't know this, but I'm pretending. So I'm going to multiply 10 by 2 to get 20 people need to book calls. Okay?
Hey.
And I know that only 3% of her email list actually books calls, so I'm going to multiply 20 times 0.03. Sorry, scrap that. Divide 20 by 0.03 to find out that she needs 600, you can't see it, 667 people on her email list. And then I want to find out how much she actually needs to spend on Facebook ads to get 666 people on her email list. So I'm going to multiply that by 4, right? We're spending $4 per lead.
I said $3, but it doesn't matter.
Okay, let's multiply it by 3. $3 per lead. So in that case, she would need to spend $2,000 on Facebook ads in order to get 667 people on her list, make 3% of her list actually book calls.
Shove a bum.
And then
Hi.
And then close 50% of those calls. But Nancy, I would not spend $2,000. I would not spend $2,000 right now, because what if you don't sell anybody on sales calls?
What happened? That sucks.
That would be really sad.
I don't think that'll happen.
It won't happen. I have a feeling Nancy is gonna kill on sales calls. Well, I'm just saying, don't spend $2,000. Be careful. Nancy, I like you. Don't spend $2,000.
What if you don't close anybody on sales calls? Like, what is that?
Okay, but you get my point, right, Nancy?
Okay, so the math, Nancy came and said she wants to make 10 sales. Her price point is $997. Did we do it on $3 or $2 or $4?
$3.
So we said, okay, because we don't know, this is her first LL, it's her first live launch, we have to collect, we don't know how her list performs. We don't know if people are going to take action. So we're assuming that she's going to spend $3 on Facebook leads, because these are average numbers. So she's going to spend a total of $2,000 to acquire the 666 leads that she needs. If 3% of her list takes action, she's going to book 20 calls. If she closes 50%, LLYO, if she closes 50% of her sales calls, that would give her 10 sales. And at $997, she would make $9,997 in gross, right? So minus the $2,000 on Facebook ad spend, that's $7,970. So she just made $7,970 in her first LLYO. So that's pretty sick. But what's not a joke is that this stuff works. What's not a joke is that these are the numbers that I crunch in my business every single day. And because I have the data, I can spend the $2,000. So until you have the data, if you want to go make it rain Facebook ads, like, cool. If you're confident with that, I'm going to throw a massive disclaimer here to be careful, because you don't know your numbers yet. But when you know your numbers, you can do that, right? So that's it. That's all, folks. Know your numbers. Start a little bit more conservative. And then the other sweet thing here, or the big sweet thing here, is that let's say that Nancy spends $2,000 on Facebook ads. Makes it rain. Okay, $2,000 on Facebook ads. She does the math and she's like, all right. So now she's got 666 people on her list and she's only made 10 sales. What about those 656 people that are on her email list that did not buy now, that are warming up, and they're ready for the next launch, right? So this is where it's epic. This is where it's awesome. This is where you're out of the gates. This is where the struggle is over. This is where you have thousands of people on your email list. Some of them have bought, most of them have not bought. Only a tiny percent of your list takes action. 3% of your list takes action, becomes buyers. The other 97 are like, hey Nancy, I love what you're doing. Nancy, thanks for your emails and your blogs, and awesome, right? 3% of your list takes action. That's a tiny percentage. You're making thousands of dollars, right? So crunch your numbers, everybody. We've been crunching from the floor over here for you. That's it.
We'll put the link to that
I just messed up the spreadsheet completely. And
We'll fix the spreadsheet and then show it to you.
Okay, everybody. Feel free to show us your numbers.
Bye.
Bye.